My name is Ryan J. Salva. I am a principal program manager at Microsoft. I am responsible for building Microsoft's, mobile developer tools and mobile services. Besides that, I'm a JavaScript developer of about a lot of years now. I kind of cut my teeth in the early days of e-commerce, spent a lot of time with working on Moo tools, and it's really just kind of been a long-term love affair with JavaScript. So it's no surprise that when React Native came around and I was given the task of owning all of Microsoft's mobile developer tools, that I would end up kind of spending a lot of time with React Native. So today, the adventure we're going to go on is really all about automating your mobile development workflow, but I'm going to do it within the context of React Native. Does that sound like a fun time? Yeah, awesome. All right, sweet. So before we get into it, I'm going to tell you guys a little story here, right? This is a little story about how I think of, my job, right? Here we go. All right, so here's how I think about my job. My typical day. Come into the office, just code awesome features all day long, crushing it. Whole day, right? Now, the truth of the matter is that it's actually a couple other things. Most important part of my day, come in, start with a cup of coffee. Yeah, that makes sense. Then I'm probably going to spend a little bit of time reading Hacker News because we all got to stay informed, right? That's probably going to increase to be a little bit more time, but if I'm good and I'm responsible, we'll cut it back a little bit. We'll just spend a little bit of time in Hacker News. After I've coded for a little while, I'm going to have to do a rip build, and if you guys have ever had to wait for Android Studio or Xcode, build takes a little while. And after that's done, I'm probably going to write and run some unit tests because I'm a responsible developer, and that's what people tell me I should do. And after I run those unit tests, then I'm actually going to go and I'm going to install it on my device, and I'm probably going to swipe around left and right and click a few things and make sure that it actually works. But the truth of the matter is that I'm probably going to do the exact same steps in my manual tests that I just coded in my unit tests. So after that, I probably want to send it out to a couple of other folks in the office, or maybe trusted customers, or maybe even I've got a CEO or a manager who says, you know what, I want to see this. I want to see what progress you're making. So we're going to do some beta testing. And then after it's been out there and it's been kind of in the world for a little while and people have responded to it, I'm getting in a bunch of different bugs because I don't know about you guys, but I write shitty code and it's full of bugs, right? So then we actually need to triage it and figure out what's actually worth fixing here because I'm not going to fix all of them. It's just not going to happen, right? So then, all right, I've triaged. Now I'm actually going to debug it a little bit. And kind of by the end of it, it looks like a defrag tool from I don't know, what is that, 1998 or something like that. Like everyone, we remember this, right? All of our computers, right? So the fact of the matter is that doesn't happen once, but that ends up happening again and again and again. My day, it's like shampoo, wash, rinse, repeat. You do the same thing over and over again. And it's not just with a single app, because I've talked with a lot of the guys here at STRV today, and these guys are juggling 30, 40 different projects at once, and I'm sure that many of you are probably in a similar place where you're not just building a single app, but you're maintaining multiple apps, maybe for your clients, maybe you've got your daytime job and you got a couple of side projects on the hustle, whatever. You're doing this multiple times over. And so this typical day, this totally weird fragmented day, ends up looking a little bit like this. About half your time is coding awesome features, killing it, crushing it, doing cool shit. But then the other half of your day is useless overhead. Or at least I think it's useless because it can be automated. And therefore, I don't want to spend my time doing it. So how do we deal with this? I've talked to a lot of developers. I'm willing to bet that many of you, like me, have surrounded yourself with an ecosystem of services that help take a little bit of that burden out. Maybe you've got something like Crashalytics providing crash reporting for you to help you kind of get a better handle on bugs in production. Maybe you've got some kind of fast lane to automatically push your apps out into the App Store. Maybe you've got some kind of continuous integration set up with a Jenkins server or Travis in order to actually kind of do cloud build. Now, this is fantastic. It's great that we've got this collection of services to really kind of help us along in our day. But I want to take a step back and talk about kind of the worst and good case scenario. So in a worst case scenario, it's kind of like, I don't know, what's a really, really fancy coffee shop here in Prague? Anyone? Say it again? Mushalakavi. God, my Czech is terrible. Okay, but it's one of those really fancy coffee shops, right? And you got a barista behind the counter, and he's making this really a fabulous ristretto with just a little dollop of foam on top, and he's hand delivering it to your table, and he doesn't even bother to ask for the check, because that would just be gauche, right? You don't want to do that. So, as a developer in a worst case scenario, you're doing exactly that. You are handcrafting every single line of code, and then you are building it and putting it directly on your customer, your client's phone, and you're handing it to them and saying, here, would you test this for me, right? Now, this, in a worst case scenario, is just going to take a hell of a lot of time. You cannot do this. It's not scalable in the slightest. All right, so let's talk about a slightly better case scenario. My machine's really slow today. All right, best case scenario, you've got some kind of automation server that is kind of stringing everything together. And again, this would be something like Jenkins or Travis or whatever continuous integration server you're using. And it's chaining all of it together. But even in that case, I was talking to Martin here from STRV earlier, and building out continuous integration for these takes a hell of a lot of time. Like, in a typical scenario, you've got one guy who you dedicated to building that CI server, and he probably spent 3 to 6 months working on it. And by the end of it, he is the only guy in the office that knows how to actually do anything with that. God help you if he ever quits. God help you if he gets hit by a bus. You are just shit out of luck, right? And so there's a lot of effort and a lot of expertise required to maintain these CI servers. Not only that, but you're probably taking a bunch of these different services. Maybe there's a little bit of Crashlytics over here. Maybe there's a little bit of analytics over here. Maybe you've got a user authentication service, and maybe you've got another thing, you're using Amazon Lambda for functions, right? And every single one of those services is $29.99 a month or a couple $100 a month. And these just add up to a lot of euro signs, dollar signs, I don't know, whatever nation I'm in, right? A lot of crowns. And so by the end of it, as a business, you're forking over a hell of a lot of money. Also, you've got these data silos. Your crash data has no connection to your user data. Likewise, your analytics data probably doesn't have any connection to your user data. If you cannot connect the names of and the email addresses of your customers to the devices they're using, to the experiences they're having, you're in a position where you are making far less well-informed decisions about your development, about the bugs that you triage, about your product roadmap. And that becomes really, really unhealthy. And last but not least, you're also layering in multiple SDKs. Now, I know most of us probably have phones. I know I do. I've got 256 gigabytes on there, a whole lot of RAM. I've got no worry every time I want to install some awesome new game or something like that. But in emerging markets, the amount of space on the phone here can be quite limited, right? The amount of bandwidth that's provided can also be quite limited. Or hell, it's not even just limited to emerging markets. A story I love to tell about this is my dad, right? So my dad's a carpenter, simple dude with a simple phone. And I swear to God, it's probably straight out of 2010. It's 7 years old. I would be surprised if it had 2 gigabytes of memory on it, right? And so every time he tries to install a new app, it just says, sorry, out of space. And so my dad's still got apps from 2013, and he doesn't install anything new. When you layer on SDK after SDK, you are essentially limiting your target audience, limiting the number of people who can consume that app. And so again, that is a business limiting factor, right? All right, so you get all these services, Oh, come on, Computer Advanced, here we go. Hopefully my terminal won't be as slow when we get this. We got all these services together, and how do we combine these all together into a single system that doesn't take 6 months to put together, that hopefully has data sharing between all of them, and in the end also reduces the footprint of your package when installed on the end user's device? So today for that, I'm going to be using a couple of different products. Actually, several of them are built by my team, but these are principles that you can apply to any development chain, whether you use Microsoft technologies or elsewhere. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio Mobile Center, and to that, this is me calling the shot. This is me saying, here's where we're going to be by the end of this hour. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is an extremely complex demo. There is a lot of places where the whole thing can crumble and go wrong. So I'm probably going to get really excited when things go right. I hope you do too. And when things go wrong, let's just be patient with each other. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to create a terrible, god-awful joke app. It's like I needed to get laughs in the thing, and I'm not very funny myself, so this is how I get laughs. I create a bad joke app. Then we're going to build it in the cloud, right? Once that guy's built up in the cloud, we're going to distribute it to everyone in the room, right? So it will be on your phones within the next 15 minutes. Then we're going to debug some crashes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've already created the app so that it has crashes. Those are intentional bugs. I am a bad developer, but these are intentional. Then we're going to watch we're going to debug that. We're going to watch the user engagement data flow in, get a better idea for what the population in this room looks like. And then if we are kind of lucky, in the end, we're going to take that bug that we fixed, and we're going to push an update out to all of you so that you can then laugh and enjoy with that awful joke app when you go home. All right? Sound good? Yeah. All right, sweet. So just a quick little inventory of some of the tools that we're going to be using inside of this. All right, so we're going to use VS Code for editing and debugging. Does anyone use VS Code as your primary editor? Oh wow, better than half the room. That's solid. Right on, I love it. We'll just use Terminal for scaffolding. We'll use MobileCenter for all of our CI and CD. And then we'll use CodePush for live updates. All right, cool. Now that we know where we're going with this, let's do the fun part. Let's do some actual coding here, right? All right, I'm going to kill Adobe since that may be what's actually... Yes, cancel. Don't install. All right, I've killed about all the things that I can kill here. Terrific. All right. You guys are going to tell me if this is big enough. Can you read? Is the contrast good? Yeah, solid? All right. So, React Native, init, Prague. All right, so what we're doing here is we're just using the default React Native init command. It's just going to scaffold up the bare minimum, a basic project. So for those of you that are not already familiar with React Native, here's the basic idea. Everyone here knows React.js? Yeah? Yeah? All right, cool. All right, so we're in the right place. So React.js, we all know, has got a virtual DOM. And that virtual DOM then kind of speaks to the framework, and the framework itself does the job of creating the div tags and the span tags, right? We've essentially, through that, created an abstraction layer that says, here's all of what my object tree looks like, and then I'm going to let the framework take care of my UI. So the neat little trick that React Native does is it basically says, you know what? If we've abstracted away our object tree, we don't have to render div tags and span tags. We can, in fact, render whatever kind of UI we want. So in the context of an iOS app, an Android app, a Windows app, hell, you could do a Mac OS app or anything else. We're just going to, instead of displaying divs and spans, we're going to display whatever controls are kind of at home or native to that platform. So it'll be a navigation pane or a view or a text box, whatever, right? For that, we have, it's kind of spun up. It's got all my stuff here. All right, great. My product is created. So now all right, cool. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open it up in VS Code. And while it's opening up in VS Code, I'm going to do a React Native run iOS. All right, cool. So what this is going to do is this React Native Run iOS just says, hey, Xcode, we need to use your build system to build for the iOS simulator. So this is going to spin up a long process to build an Xcode. Who here does any kind of mobile development for iOS or Android? Handful of you. Like, what's your average build time? 5 minutes? Yeah, forever. OK, that's why we're going to go and we're going to look at the project system while this is building. Right? Takes freaking forever. All right. So while Xcode does its magic, yoink. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here too. Good, we can see? We can read? Excellent. All right, so here's kind of, I'm not going to go into all the details of this, but just to orient all of you, the basic idea behind React Native is that you share about 70% of your business logic in, well, JSX, right? But then you probably want to customize the UI for each one of your target platforms. So as a general rule, you're going to write platform-specific code for iOS and Android, and then you'll have a bunch of shared logic behind that. Now, while that is the basic theory of that, tonight, I'm going to say screw that, and we're just going to use the same code for both of them. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to Control X. I'll do a quick require app whack index.js. Cool, good, save. Same thing here, require app. Wow, the autocomplete's doing some weird stuff there. Index.js, that is funky. All right, we will create a quick little folder here where we're going to put all of our code in. Oh, hey, it's starting up. That's kind of exciting. Index.js. All right, cool. Then I'll just paste all that code here. So what you should think of here is that if this were iOS, it would load this page. If this were Android, it would load this page. But in both cases, we're just requiring the same view. And so instead, they're all going to load this. Make sense? Sweet. All right, so while that's happening, I want to point out what's happening over here. So you will notice that our terminal spun up a new window. What this is doing is it's spinning up a node process. The kind of neat little trick here is that when it's running on iOS or when it's running on Android, all of the JavaScript is running in JavaScript core on a background thread and a node process. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. Instead of actually running the JavaScript inside of the simulator, we've just spun up an additional node process. And so all of the UI that's being rendered, or will be rendered here in just a moment, in this simulator, all the logic for that is actually happening back here on my Mac in the node process. Kind of cool, right? All right, so while that guy is loading up, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start editing shit here, right? So this should look fairly familiar to anyone who's spent any time with React. All right, we're importing a couple of components and packages here. All right, here's our basic component. We got a view here that's displaying welcome to React Native, your most boring boilerplate you could possibly imagine. We've got some styles that are here defining just basic kind of JavaScript CSS, and then we're registering our component to get going, right? So because all of that's kind of boring, we're going to replace that with some awesome joke text. So that you don't have to watch me code every single bit of it, I'm going to do a bit of copy-paste, but don't worry. I will explain the tremendously complicated code that I'm writing here. I feel like I just pasted a little bit more than I meant to. Render. Good. Yeah, wow, that's a lot more than I meant to. Missing one piece. Yoink. Yoink. That feels right. Oh, I must not have copied it. Sorry. Like I said, shit can go wrong at any moment. There we go. This looks way better. All right, sweet. All right, so let's explain what we're doing here, right? We're still exporting the component. I'm just going to go ahead and set the app state to joke because that's going to be the object where we basically hold our state, hold our data in. I've got a quick little event handler here Basically what's going to happen is every time I click on a button, we are going to go out and we are going to do a little XHR request to icanhasdadjoke.com. You guys are welcome to use this REST API completely free of charge. Get all of your favorite jokes here. And it's just going to set the state to populate it with a single joke, right? Later on, we're going to want to do a little bit of kind of analytics. So here we're just going to record an event. And when we do so, we're going to save the most important information of all, which is the joke punchline for each one of these. And then we've got a simple little view here where we're just displaying the joke that gets pulled back every time. I promised that there would be a button, and there indeed is the button in order to invoke that event handler. This all is fairly simple stuff, not too complicated, right? Okay, we will need to bring in the button. Cool. Let's see, am I missing anything else? I think we're pretty good right now. Let's see if that guy started up over here. Okay, yep, welcome to React Native. True to form. All right, I should now just be able to do a quick little refresh though. There we are. I am not laughing. Okay, let's see if we can get some jokes. A ghost walks into a bar and asks for a glass of vodka, but the bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve spirits." Why do crabs never give to charity? Because they're shellfish. Oh, best jokes of the night. They laughed when I said I wanted to be a comedian. They're not laughing now. Oh, wow, priceless. This is good stuff. This is gold. All right, cool. All right, so we've got our simple app up. None of this is continuous integration. This is just giving us a good excuse to go through some laughs, right? All right, so now that we got all that in, let's actually kind of begin to get in some of the SDKs that are going to allow us to do some of the magic here. All right, so I'm going to head back on over to Terminal. Let's just clear this out. And I am going to import some SDKs. All right, so here I am using Yarn to import 3 SDKs, MobileCenter Analytics, MobileCenter Crashes, and CodePush, right? So Yarn is just like NPM. It's better because it uses emojis. So this is what it's doing. It's going, it's installing and getting out all the packages. And it'll get it and actually lickety split. There it is. It's done. All right, so now that I've got all those in there, I'm going to need to import them into my project. So let's add them in here. All right, so we're just importing CodePush, and we're importing analytics from both of them. These are going to use the respective CodePush service and the MobileCenter service in order to kind of just speed things along. All right, and then one other thing that we need to do is because we're using CodePush, whenever we launch CodePush, we're going to want it to actually invoke CodePush as part of the startup so that we can check for updates when they're available. Now, that requires me to explain a little bit about CodePush. Let me take a step back here. So I said that we were going to deploy an app, we were going to crash that app, fix some bugs, and then deploy an update. Right? Everyone remembers that? That was me calling the shot, right? Okay, so the way that we're going to deploy that update is with a technology called CodePush. CodePush essentially works this way. CodePush, that JavaScript bundle that's running, over here in the packager. Let's see if I can get back to it. Right, that node process, the one that's running in JavaScript core. That little piece of JavaScript, we're free to dynamically update that guy as often as we want. And this is a unique, even unfair advantage of JavaScript at large, right? If you're to look at the kind of Apple terms and conditions, and actually let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's look at the Apple terms and conditions. There we go. Yeah. Section 3.3.2 of ye old developer terms and conditions from Apple. He's got this little thing here. It says, like, an application may not download or install executable code. Interpreted code may only be used in an application if all scripts, code, and interpreters are packaged in the application and not downloaded. Okay. I think we can probably unpack that. What that really means is Apple saying anything that you put on a user's device needs to go through us. In part because Apple wants to guarantee the security of your users, in part because they want a cut of all of your profits. There's that bit too, right? But they've got this nifty little exception in here. The only exception to the foregoing is scripts and code downloaded and run by Apple's built-in WebKit framework or JavaScript core. Well, that's a funny little thing to say, right? So what they're essentially saying here is that something like, for example, React Native can update that JavaScript that is running in JavaScript core without having to go through the Apple Store, right? You can then have a direct relationship with your customers so that you can fix a bug in production. You can deploy a new feature, right? You can do A/B testing and kind of farm that out, deploy 2, 3, 4 times a day, right? And that's really significant because if you compare that to another business who's standing side by side with you, writing Swift or Objective-C or Java, right? Every time that they want to deliver a bug fix, they've got to go through the gateways. A lot of people here earlier raised their hand. You had developed mobile apps. You were participating in the app economy, as they say. So when you participate in the app economy, how long does it take you to get through the Apple Store? 2 weeks? 2 weeks? Anyone beat 2 weeks? No? All right, I'm sorry, dude. That sucks. Right? So it takes a long freaking time. If you are waiting 2 weeks to fix a bug, then your business is practically shut down in that time, especially if that bug is a part of one of your mainline workflows. Using CodePush, you can fix that bug in the next 15 minutes. It takes 0 time at all to just update that. So we'll go through that again, but in order for CodePush to work, we need to make sure that it gets invoked when the app starts up. So that's what we're going to do here. All right. End show. All right, so let's go back here. Let's invoke that little guy. So we're going to grab register component here. So what this is saying is when we register the component, make sure that we are invoking CodePush as part of the component registration. Here, we want to look for an installation immediately, look for an update immediately. And when we do so, we want to give users the option as to whether or not they install that update. Does that make sense? Yeah? Head nodding? Good. I like head nodding. All right, cool. All right, so we've got all that in there. I think magic happens now. Let's actually get this guy into Git, because what we really want to happen here is that we want all this cascade of automation to happen every time that we submit a push or pull request up to our Git server. So we're just going to do a git init, git add a. This is our normal little dance here. We actually have to create the Git repo, so let's go over here. Prague, public. Good to go. Yep, all that's good to go. Yoink. Git commit im, first commit, git push u origin master. All right, cool. So now, if we did everything right, we should have everything up here in GitHub. Brilliant. Okay, if you guys want to borrow any of this code, you're welcome to. GitHub.com, whack Ryan J. Salva, whack Prague. All right, so now we're going to get back over here. This guy. So I promised a few different tools that we'd be using today. This is the next of them. This is MobileCenter. MobileCenter is essentially a collection of services designed for, mobile developers to automate your workflow and to provide back-end services to power your app. So things like cloud build, crash reporting, and analytics on the DevOps side of things. And on the back-end side of things, things like identity and tables and push notifications. MobileCenter works best for all those things like cloud build when you are actually connected to a source code repository. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to connect using our GitHub credentials. And once we're in here, we're going to create a new app. We're going to create Prague iOS. And you see here that I've got a choice of a couple of different platforms that I can build with. iOS, Android, or Windows. We're going to be building for iOS in this particular case. And we're going to be building using React Native, but we could have done this using Swift, Objective-C, or Java. All right, great. So we've got this guy created now. And this is going to give us the all-important app secret, right? This little key here is what we need in order to associate our app with this particular instance of the service. All right, so now that we've got that app secret, we can go back over here. We're going to do a clear. We already added our SDKs, so we're going to do a React Native link. So for those of you that are not already familiar with React Native link, what it essentially does is, I don't know, kind of think of it like, I don't know, Yeoman for React Native-ish. It's essentially going to take our SDKs that we've installed, our packages that we've installed. It's going to say, you know what? You're a JavaScript developer. You don't really want to deal with having to modify all of the native packages as well. So we're going to prompt you with a couple of questions, and we will modify both the native package and we'll modify your JavaScript code to take care of all that for you. So in that, you can in fact see that's what it's doing here. It's asking for the Android app secret. I created an Android app secret earlier, so let me just go over and grab it. Prague, Android. C, V. Starts with an E, ends with a 7. Starts with an E, ends with a 7. I cannot tell you how many times I've screwed this up by getting not all the letters. Really, really important. Enable automatically. So it's just asking us some questions. What's the iOS app secret? Cool. Go back over here to the iOS one. Starts with a 4, ends with a 4. Starts with a 4, ends with a 4. Enable automatically. Cool, cool, cool. All right, now Android app secret again, automatically. iOS app secret, it remembers it automatically. It's going to want our CodePush deployment key. I already created that guy for Android over here. Don't worry, I'll take you through the process in just a second. I'm not doing anything special or shifty or secretive. Starts with a 0, ends with a 6. Starts with a 0, ends with a 6. And then it's going to want my iOS one. Let's actually create an iOS one. I said that I would do that. So all right, this is saying CodePush deployment add Prague iOS default. So I'm invoking the CodePush CLI. I'm creating deployment keys for this particular service for the project named Prague iOS. And I'm creating the default keys, which in this case are production and staging. Come on, interwebs. Successfully added. There we go. Starts with an E. Oops. Ends with a 6. Starts with an E, ends with a 6. All right, congratulations. We are through the most boring part of the entire thing, right? Wow, Ryan added keys. That was awesome. Okay. So we got this in here. We are now going to do one more quick little update right after. Because I want to make sure that you guys get this, I do need to actually sign the Xcode project and the Android project. So we're going to quickly add a key store for Android, and we are going to provide a wildcard cert for Xcode. So generating keys for Android. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the most secure password ever. Yes. Cool. All right. That guy is in there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do one thing here real quick. Key store. We're going to delete that guy real quick. Delete. Move to trash. Do that one more time. Unknown, 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 unknown. I promised that you were past the most boring part. I totally lied. This is the most boring part. All right, and then we're going to sign our Xcode one with a wildcard cert. So what I'm doing here is I'm opening up Xcode, and Xcode's basically going to say, hey, you need to associate a provisioning profile with this so that we can verify, so that you, as customers of my awesome joke app, can verify that I am trustworthy. You guys trust me, right? We're friends? Okay, all right. So this is just going to be me saying that I'm cool, I have a provisioning profile, I'm a trustworthy dude. And at the very least, if I'm not trustworthy, then you can find me afterwards. Cool. So that's not in. So I can do a git, add a. Cool. Git, commit, m. Let's see here. Add keys. Git, push, master. All right, cool. So now all that stuff should be up there. If all of this works right, then in just a moment, you guys will have a brand new app installed on your phone. All right, so we're going to head back on over to MobileCenter. To make sure that that happens for everyone, am I in iOS? We're going to create a new group. We're going to call it Prague. I will just go ahead and add myself to this. Now, I could, yoink, I could ask for each one of your email addresses and add that to this, but that would probably take a long time. Fortunately, there's a lot of you in the audience, and I like that. So we're gonna take a little shortcut here. We're gonna go to aka whackms/get that app, and you're gonna see a page like this. Just to make that easy for you, bring out your phones. Go here. Don't worry, I'll wait. aka.ms whack get that app. It's just going to ask you for your email address and the platform that you're using so that we can send you the right package. We'll pause for a moment here. This is where I actually need to add audio to my presentation, like some music playing in the background. All right, I'm going to trust that we're pretty close to it. You guys look like you're done typing. All right. Now, I want to show you a really cool thing that I'm doing here, right? So this whole presentation is really about automating your workflows, right? And so you may be saying to yourself, yeah, you're showing me MobileCenter, but I've already got my own Jenkins server. I want to automate this in another way. So we're doing some pretty cool stuff here that you can take advantage of. So in this particular case, I'm using Google Forms to set this all up. Right? And within Google Forms, I've got the ability to call a Google function. And this Google function, I'm going to zoom into this guy a little bit here. What it's basically doing is every time you guys submit a response, I'm capturing that response. I'm using an API token that I will totally delete after this is all over. I will not let you suckers steal my data. And then we're just doing a simple little XHR request here, right? And for that, we're using a set of APIs that are available for all of MobileCenter. These are just RESTful calls, and these are the exact same APIs that all of the dashboard that I'm showing today are built upon. So 100% of the distribution service, of the analytics service, of the crash reporting service, it's all built on APIs that you can use yourself, right? And so here I am just adding everyone to a particular distribution group based upon your responses. And if everything went well, let's see here. Let's see if anyone... Oh yeah, sweet. Look at that. Got a bunch of you showing up here, right? Don't worry, we've got it for Android as well. I set that up beforehand. All right, so we got everyone in the distribution group. You guys are about to be the proud owners of the finest joke app that never made it to the App Store. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm connecting to my repo on GitHub. In this one case, I'm going to connect to that Prague repo. And now I'm going to set up my continuous integration for this, right? So you're typically going to set up a different CI flow based upon your branch. In this case today, we just kept things simple. Everything's on the master branch because hoo-yah, why not, right? So set up that branch here. For this guy, we got a bunch of different options. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so it's hopefully a little bit more visible. All right, so it's detected my version of Xcode that I'm using. We're going to say that we want to build it on every push. Here we can run unit tests. Unit tests can be written in a number of different frameworks. We've got Jest support coming very soon. We are going to want to sign those builds because we want to distribute it. So let's go ahead and upload our provisioning profile here. Yoink, 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 yoink. Where did I put that guy? All right, so this is my provisioning profile. This is my P12. And then here we've got the option to test on real devices. I'm going to show you that in just a second, but most importantly, we want to distribute the sucker. And we're going to want to distribute it to all of you who just joined my distribution group, right? All right, cool. So this guy is saved. And if everything works as it should, this is one of those moments where I'm going to be so freaking excited. I will squeal like a little schoolgirl if it works. This is the point where we're going to do a cloud build, and we're going to hopefully in about 5-6 minutes see it appear in all of your inboxes, right? So in fact, that's what's happening here right now. We got the build, it's already spooling up, it's already running. The same thing should be happening. Let's actually see, let's see. We're gonna go to the one for iOS, or for rather Android as well. Let's see if this guy is spooling up as well. And I'm on Prague, Android, this guy, distribute. Prague, oh, we got 40 users over here already. So this guy should be spooling up here again in just a minute as well. All right, so now that we've got all these guys kind of getting started, I want to take a minute to show you guys the test portion of this. Now, the test portion of this is truly incredible, but it takes, because we're having to actually run this on real devices, it can take 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm going to show you guys a set of completed tests, but like you can go home and try this yourself using a full workflow. I don't want to keep you here too long. So we're going to go, I believe this guy here, Bike Rider for iOS, has got some tests run up. So the idea, the dream here, what you really want is you want a build to begin, right? As soon as you do a push. So you do a push, and then a build begins. And then after the build completes, you want to run unit tests. And after you run unit tests, you want to run automated UI tests. And if the automated UI tests run, then you want to pass it off to all your manual testers. And if all of that works, well, then you're going to be stuck with getting crash reports after that too, but that'll happen. So this automated UI test piece of it, this is crazy because what we've got 2 data centers, one in Denmark, one in the US. And these data centers are, well, they're an awful lot like any other data center that you've been to. You know, you walk in and it's got the raised floors and it's like all static free and you got guys in lab coats walking around. They're actually not in lab coats, but it would be cool if they were. And so, but surrounding them are, instead of the normal servers, the Razor servers that you see in a lot of data centers, instead, it's just rows and rows and rows of these devices just plugged in via little USBs, all of them with a little piece of black tape that's over it. Partially, the black tape is there to protect their eyes from the blazing screens that would be all around them, but part of it is also to protect you and as an app developer from letting kind of your cool new idea get out into the open. We want to make sure that all of your automated UI tests, you are completely private. You are protected from the shame of your bugs being like run and exposed in a data center to some techie somewhere, right? So what you see here is a list of automated UI tests that are running for this particular application. And we could look at ones that pass, but they're rarely fun to look at. We're going to look at some that fail, right? And so as we go through these, you can see we got a run that we did, 67% of tests passed, 92% of devices passed. And let's look at one that failed. All right, so as we click through these, you can kind of see that the screen kind of changes. We're actually, as I click around here, we're taking screenshots of the actual devices set up in the lab. And just to give you guys an idea here, there are over 4,000 different permutations of devices that are in these data centers. The number of iOS devices, you can kind of control for that. It's like, 4 to the 4 kind of thing, maybe 8 to the 4. But the number of permutations of Android devices is obviously ginormous, right? And so we've got a lot of different ones available. And what we're going to do, let's look at one where things were going well, things were going well, things were going well. All right, sweet. Still alive. Oh, shit. All right. Failed, right? Okay, so we've got an error here, and we have an error that's specifically on 4S, right? So from here, you can then go in, you get a little bit of information about the device, what was going on with it, but more importantly, you get access to the device logs at the time that the failure occurred. So this kind of gives you the one-liner of where the actual error happened. I'm going to try to zoom in a bit here. Right? But the cooler thing is getting the actual test logs themselves. And this is the complete log of everything that was happening on that device and the lead up to the error. This will essentially give you as a developer all the information, hopefully, that you need to reproduce the error, to track down the specific stack trace, and to hopefully fix the bug before you distribute it out to friends, family, trusted advisors, customers, CEOs, whatever. All right? Test failures. Here's the actual stack trace here. This particular one happened to be a Xamarin application. All right. So let's see if our friend has finished building. Oh, still building. All right. Let's see how far along he is. All right. We've got warnings. What build does not have warnings in it, though? I'm not afraid yet. All right, so while this guy is running then, I want to show you guys one more thing back here. Do I have anything? Nope, actually we're good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Because I don't want you to wait for the build, I already said that the most boring part was over. We're going to go back to an app that I already built with this. And I'm going to go ahead and distribute it to you guys while that guy is finishing up. Build. Oh my gosh, Outlook? Really? It's what I get for dog fooding my company's stuff here. All right. We're going to distribute this one out to you. We're going to send it to our Prague folks. Hi, everyone. Distribute now. All right. So we got one of them out. Let's go to the other one. Let's get our fine folks over in Android land. Let's see here. Crashes, analytics, build. This one finished. Distribute. Prague. 41 of you. Wow. All right. Survey says that Android is more popular in Prague than iOS. This is the Android build. Android build. Distribute build. All right. So in just a few moments, you guys should get an email. I've got my phone here. All right, so I've got QuickTime up here. Let's hope I did this right. So you should get an email that looks a little something like this, right? From the MobileCenter team, new version available. All right, I can see details of this guy. And it's going to give me the option to install it. All right. I'm going to install this guy. It will prompt me to install. Yes, sir. Thank you. And now, if I go back to my home screen, you'll see here that down there at the bottom, we're installing this guy. I forget what state I left this guy in. Let's find out. Uh-oh. Untrusted developer. That's okay. That's totally natural. So this is for distribution to your beta testers. So your beta testers need to first say, you know what, even though this didn't go through the App Store, I have a relationship with this developer. I'm willing to install something that has not been blessed by the sanctimonious people in One Infinite Loop, California, right? So just go to Settings, General, Profiles and Device Management, and Bit Stadium, right? I think it was this one. Trust Bit Stadium. There we are. Right? And now, my device trusts me as a developer and as a publisher. So I can now go up here, and we can get jokes. Oh, we'll ignore this one for now. Ignore. We can get jokes, right? Oh, wait. Shit. It crashed. You know what? That's okay. Remember what I said? I promised that the app would crash. This is intentional. This is a good thing. We wanted this to happen. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to head back on over here. One of the first things that I want to do is I want to see, actually that was in iOS, so we're going to look at it in iOS. Oh, wow, we got a terrific collection of crashes that are happening here, right? So like I said, I'm a terrible developer. I write bad code. And we got a list of different crashes. Now, each of these crashes, what we're essentially doing is we're looking for a stack trace. And we're taking that stack trace and we're looking for ones that look similar to each other. And if they are the same or similar stack traces, we logically group them together. And then we look for the number of users that occurred on, right? This kind of gray one over here. I know that's like just above the, here, we'll zoom in. Number of users that occurred for, and the number and the count of actual crashes. This data is really important to you because you got a choice, right? You can fix a bug for the one user whose app crashed 1,000 times, or you can fix the bug for the 1,000 users who each crashed once. Now, I don't know about you, but I probably want to fix the bug that 1,000 users experienced, right? Because that's affecting large volumes of my population versus the one guy who was really motivated and kept on opening up that app and trying it, right? Like, that guy's not leaving no matter what, so like, we'll just not worry about him, right? So once we get in here, I want to point out another thing. So for React Native specifically, recall earlier that I said that the vast majority of your code is running in JavaScript core. It is JavaScript that is, well, that is your app, right? This is where everything lives. You're probably not writing a lot of code in the native language, right? And so when you're using a lot of crash reporting services, what you typically find is that the crash reporting they provide, the stack traces they provide, go back to native code. Now, if you do the math here, and it's providing stack traces for native code, but you're not writing in native code, they're probably not very helpful, right? And so what you want is you want the JavaScript stack trace, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We're providing the JavaScript stack trace for our React Native application. We're able to do this because we used Cloud Build inside of MobileCenter. When we built it in the cloud, it generated a source map. That source map creates the connection, kind of says the map that says from your pre-compiled code to your post-compiled code. Here's how these two guys map up. And now, whenever you get a stack trace, you can actually take it back to your original source. And so we can see here, view, wow, there is something on my machine that is just eating up the memory. Wow. We can see here the full stack trace that happened, and we can see that the error, the last one, occurred on line 27 there, right? So that's the key piece that we want. So if we go back to our code, so many windows. Maybe that's why my machine's running slow. This is a new machine, though. Line 27 in Reactive, and actually now it's a different project. But I can tell you in that other one, there is a little piece right here. Actually, let me open up that project. CD reactive, right? Code. This is the actual project that it was on. Even more Windows, I know, I'm just addicted to it, right? What we had here is we had a function call that was track event. Now the fact of the matter is that track event needed to have a this in front of it, right? We've all made this mistake before. It happens all the time. But when that gets into your production app and now your users are suffering because you can't remember what this is, and half the time I can't, then like you got a problem. So you got to fix that guy. All right, so now we've got this guy out. Let's actually, and actually I'm going to fix it. Some of you might have by now actually received the email invitation for, oh yeah, there it is. I'll switch back over to this. By now, some of you might have received this guy right here, the one for Prague iOS. So that one's now out here as well. So now we fixed it. Let's do something with that. Let's actually fix it in production, right? Now, earlier, I know that I used distribution to send a beta version of my app out to many of you in the audience. And that was great. That was terrific, right? But you can't use that same trick. You can't send that email to all of your users every time that you want to do an update, right? You don't want them to have to trust you as a developer. You want to go through the normal App Store process. And so that's where CodePush comes into play. When you need to deliver a bug fix or a new feature in production, then CodePush is your savior. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We've just fixed the app locally. Now we're going to do a CodePush deployment, and that is going to dynamically update all of your apps in production. So we're actually going to do it in two places. I'm going to do it in both the Prague one and in the reactive one, which is my backup one, right? So we're in reactive right now. I've got it as this.track event, so that's happy, good. And now let's go to the Prague one as well, which is this one? Nope, the other one. Right, so we don't want to be track event, we want to be this.track event. Save, all right, cool. So now we've got two directories, two CodePush updates that we need to make. So now I can do a CodePush release. So we'll do it for the Prague one first. Actually, I'm going to clear this out so you can see it. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Whoops, not that much. Woo. Good God. All right, so let's explain what's happening here. Again, we're invoking the CodePush CLI. We are releasing for React Native. We are going to release the Prague iOS app. We are going to release it for iOS, right? So at this moment, what is happening is it's actually packaging up that JavaScript bundle. It is going to send that bundle out to the great big server in the sky, and that great big server in the sky is going to hold on to that bundle. All of your devices now, when you start up the app for the first time or restart the app, are going to query the cloud. And it's going to say, hey, Mr. Cloud, do you have an update for me? Right? Mr. Cloud will say, yes, indeed I do. I do have an update for you. What is on your device does not look like what I have in the cloud. So let's shake hands and let's get a new version of it. So you can see there that it just uploaded it, right? And so now if you were to like swipe, shut down the joke app and restart it, you'll get a request for an update. Let's do that for reactive as well. Reactive iOS. Oh, there's going to be so many permutations of this. We want to deliver it for each platform because you might have variations in your actual package for Android and iOS. So as a good practice, you generally want to create a separate release for each of your deployment targets, whether it's iOS, Android, Windows, wherever. So now we're going to release to reactive. Cool. And I don't want all of our Android friends to feel left out. So we're going to release it for Android as well. But while it is uploading for Android, oh, come on now. Come on, buddy. You can do it. You can do it. Oh, there we go. I like to talk to my computer like it's a dog. All right. We'll do it for reactive, Android, and Android. Right? All good? Cool. All right, so while that's doing its update, I'm going to show you guys what happens. So, man, there's so many windows open. If only I could open more windows. So, let's see what happens when we open this guy up. So now, as soon as I open it up, I get a little prompt, right? An update is available. Would you like to install? Well, yes, sir. Thank you. So now it's going to do an update. I've got the new package installed. And from here, if I did everything right and I fixed my bug, oh, yeah, buddy. So now I can get all those jokes that I know you've been craving. Let's see here. A skeleton walked into a bar. He said I needed a beer and a mop. I don't get that one. Do you guys get that? That makes no sense. All right. Whenever the cashier at the grocery store asks my dad if he would like the milk in a bag, he replies, no, just leave it in the carton. Oh, God, that's terrible. Oh, God. Two peanuts were walking down the street. One was assaulted. Oh, I am going to leave on a high point. That was terrific. All right, cool. So by the end of this, what have we seen? What have we done? So we built an app. We then made it so that every time we submit a new change, a new pull request, that it gets built up in the cloud. When it's built up in the cloud, okay, admittedly, we skipped over the test part because that takes a long time, but we saw that you could run UI tests. And upon completion of those UI tests, that we could hand it over and we could distribute it out to many of you, if not all of you, in the audience, right? Then we used kind of crash data and to make intelligent triaging decisions about kind of what we were doing with the app. And last but not least, I want to finish this by taking a quick little peek at the analytics side of things. So everyone was using the Prague one. Let's see if folks got the Prague one installed. So we got any, just one user has gotten installed so far. Okay, well, at least someone got it installed. I'll go to the reactive one. That one I know has got some data in it. Oh, actually, let's see if the Android one got it. Did anyone get the Android one installed? Still crashing. Oh, you need to get the CodePush update. So shut down the app and then restart the app. I did. You did? Yeah, let's check on the status of it. Oh, wait. Deployment staging does not exist. Oh, you know, I know why. I'm going to do it for the Prague one. Prague, Android. There we go. Okay. If you install the Prague one, that one should get the update properly. All right. In the meantime, just so that we can get through the important stuff here. So we're going to look at Prague iOS, analytics. So we got some cool stuff here. We're starting to get a little bit of data in, and you know, it's not that much data. We're just starting to trickle in, but that's okay. And you got normal stuff like which country things are coming from, which languages are being used, what the devices are. So we got 2 iPhone 7s, 2 6Ss, an SE, a 6S Plus. All right, that's some good stuff. But I want to show you guys one last super cool thing. At least I think this is super cool. All right, so this is log flow. So it will often come to pass, especially when you're wanting to iterate quickly and you want to like get a bunch of like data out there and apps out there, that you need to kind of verify that what people are doing actually matches what you expect to be happening, right? And that's where log flow helps. So what log flow is going to do, I forget, did I install the reactive version or the Prague version? I installed the reactive version. So let's get over to the reactive one. I want to make sure I'm doing it off the right key. Log flow. Oh yeah, there was a bunch of stuff coming in this one. Go back to overview. Yeah, we got stuff coming in on this one. Cool. All right, so it's now awaiting data. So I'm just going to start clicking around here. I'm not even reading them to you, I know. We're missing out on some great jokes. What did the grape do when he got stepped on? He let out a little wine. Why does Superman get invited to dinners? Because he is a supper hero. Oh, good God. That's terrible. But now that I've distracted you long enough. So what you can see is that we're getting a log flow of all of the events as they come in. And this just isn't just off of my device. We've essentially opened up the fire hose to all of the events that are coming in through this app. Now, that could be a huge amount of data. So the truth is that what we do is, at least today, we're limiting it to like 100 different events within every second so that it's not in a widely deployed app. You're not just getting a cascade of hundreds of thousands of events, right? And Logflow is super helpful, especially when you are trying to isolate the behavior of a particular class of users or even a particular user himself. Today, it's the fire hose. Within the next, I'd say about maybe month or two, we're adding in the ability to start to filter down Logflow by device ID, even by geographic region, so that you get a kind of a window into actual user behavior, hopefully at the moment that you are trying to debug with them, right, and figure out what's going wrong. So, and you can see, oh wow, we got start session. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding. Oh, Jesus Christ, these are terrible jokes. All right, so we finished it all out with that. So, what you saw today, I want to wrap this up. Everything that you saw today, whether it was VS Code, it was CodePush, it was MobileCenter, all these guys are totally free services. If you are a mobile developer of any kind, whether you're using Swift, Objective-C, Java, React Native, I hope you're using React Native, Xamarin, then dude, go use it. Go use it, consume it, use it as much as you like. There is no limit on it. We are in preview with all of these today. There will probably come a point in the future at which we start to charge for some of it, but I can guarantee you this, that CodePush will always be free, that VS Code will be free. MobileCenter will have a very, very generous free tier for developers who are starting projects, who are testing out new business ideas, who are just trying to learn the ropes, right? So go use it. You know, my dream is that you can take that 50% of your time spent coding awesome features and turn it into 80, 90% of your time, right? And maybe save a little bit for Hacker News. With that, my name is Ryan J. Salva. I am Ryan J. Salva on Twitter, GitHub, and everywhere. I do hope that you'll talk with me, that you'll enjoy some beers with me afterwards, and that you will also join me at ReactiveConf this coming October. I spoke there last year. I fell in love with the community. I fell in love with the venue, with the city, all of it. I had such a great time. I'll be coming back again this year, and I want to see all of you there. So thank you so much for having me. Truly appreciate it. So we do have a little bit of time for some questions, and then we'll break and have some socializing as well. But I do want to take a couple of questions up on the stage. Let them loose. The question is, will we integrate it into Visual Studio Code? And here I'm going to assume that what you mean by it is MobileCenter and CodePush. Yeah, okay. So yes and no. I mean, the intent of CodePush is really to be a very lightweight text editor that is extensible, but usually the ways that we're extending it is by providing in things like code snippets. Maybe we're even providing debugging features. So Visual Studio Code today, I actually encourage all of you, if you're doing any kind of React Native development, to go install the React Native extension for VS Code. We do provide debugging for React Native today. CodePush itself, let's actually see. It's my product. I'm the PM on it, but I don't remember if we added in a CodePush command on it. Let's find out. P code. Nope, no CodePush, but we do have React Native, publish to Exponent, restart packager, run in Android, run in iOS, all of that good kind of stuff. And so that's that's where we focused on that inner loop within VS Code rather than the DevOps portion of it or the services portion of it. I'm certain that a little bit down the road, we'll probably add in some good IntelliSense and good snippets for the SDKs. But hopefully, if we're doing our job right, the SDKs themselves will be self-declaring and they'll already give you all of the IntelliSense you could ever want. Cool. Another question. Next. Don't be shy. All right, well, maybe after you get a beer or two in you, we'll be a little more talkative. Again, thank you guys very much for the time. I had a lovely, lovely time, and we'll see you upstairs. Cheers.